Why 1 in 3 sellers are cutting their prices and how to avoid it. Hello, everybody. My name is Roxanne Govari with Pemberley Realty here in San Diego, California, along with my partner, Santiago Guerin.
Hello, everyone. Why are sellers cutting their prices? Let's find out, right?
Right, because we're no longer in that market when everything was going up, everything was going up exponentially, and every buyer was competing to get into the homes that the a few homes that were on the market, and that is certainly not the case anymore. And buyers and houses are no longer houses and condos. Basically, real estate is no longer the commodity that we used to see in during the COVID years, at least.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I let me start with a story. I there was a house that I listed during COVID. I don't remember exactly where it was in the COVID craze of the market climbing up, but I do remember we had gotten together and we had gotten together about 2 months before we went on the market, and we looked at the prices really closely, and we concluded that the property was worth about $750,000.
Okay.
And it was a very nice property. It was a house. It was a 3 bedroom, 2 bath house in Rancho Penasquitos, part of the suburbs of San Diego, and it was located on a hill, part of a good school district. It had a great view, and in that 2 months, we actually worked together to make some improvements to the house, and
Mm-hmm.
then we were like, okay, and 750 was a price that we decided on with improvements being made,
Yeah.
right? So then we went on the market, and the market was just at that point in time, the market was crazy. Like every house had crazy multiple offers. People were overbidding each other. People were overbidding way above ask.
Mm-hmm.
So we started, and as you know, we are experts in working and negotiating those types of markets and bidding wars and getting everybody into an auction situation, try to pull as much money as we can out of the sale and negotiate back and forth and all that. We were doing everything,
Yeah.
and we found this one buyer that really wanted the house, and so they came up about $100,000, and then our seller was like, nope, no way, no way. I see what's going on in the market. I see how everything is appreciating. We didn't price the house correctly. 750 was not the right price,
Mm-hmm.
and so $100,000 is not enough. I am not selling this house for a dollar less than $1 million. And I remember really well that the house was 1,300 square feet, and at that point, I'm thinking 1,300 square feet for $1 million. That is just not happening. That is impossibility. It's not going to happen. So we go back to basically the list of our buyers that had made offers, and we're like, okay, this is not acceptable. Our seller's not going to sell it for 100,000 more. You got to go up. And we finally got the one that had come up to 100 to come up another 100,000. So we're now at
950.
so
Wait.
originally we listed at 750. They came up $200,000. So we're at 950 now. And another buyer came up to 940, and then we had like 30 offers on the property. The rest of them were like, "You are crazy. We're not coming up to that number." So so between these two buyers, we had to go back and push more. So finally, we got them to 980. One of those two buyers, we got them to 980. Then that was the max that they were willing to pay. And so our seller actually went ahead and accepted that with hesitance and and for a year or two to that, because we have we have the culture within our business
Yeah.
to stay in touch with clients,
Yeah.
and the seller was not happy even after that, that we didn't actually get $1 million.
Yeah.
Now let's go back and look at that same scenario now. If that buyer is to turn around and want to sell that house, they're going to have to sell that house at a loss,
Yeah.
because because the market has not appreciated as quickly,
Yeah.
and and you cannot demand the same kind of demands from the market now or from the buyers now, because they're simply just not willing to pay you that kind of money,
Yeah.
like that much more for a house. And frankly, getting 30 offers on a property in
Yeah.
this environment is very rare.
And it's not like, that there's been a market crash or anything. It's more that the buyers are a lot more selective now and more picky on what they're buying.
Well, and affordability, of course, speaks to this, right? Because when overnight you go from $750,000 to $950,000 for the same house, it's not like the buyer's buying power has just gone up so by that much, right? So you basically are reducing the pool of buyers that are able to purchase the same house, and uh, all of a sudden you're going to wind up with fewer buyers out there.
Yeah.
And interest rates do play a part into this, because we've gone from 3% interest rate to 6% interest rate. So interest rates do play a part into it. But the reality is, we were in a situation with COVID. We were in a situation that we hope not to see, like any more often than every 100 years. You don't want to be in a pandemic situation.
Yeah.
So, and if that's the case, then it's fair to say that 3% interest rates, we're not going to see that anytime soon, or let's hope that we don't,
Yeah.
because if 3% interest rate and pandemics are go hand in hand, then let's not hope for 3% interest rate, because we don't want to be in another pandemic situation.
Yeah.
So now go back to 6% interest rate, or prices that are going up by $200,000. Well, that also doesn't
I'm not seeing that.
work well for everybody,
Yeah.
right? Especially if you're in a circumstance where you have to move and you have to sell, and you need a buyer to buy your property, and there's just so much that you can push before the buyer says, you know what, I'm out. I'm just
Yeah.
going to go someplace else.
Exactly. Yeah. That makes sense.
So now, before the pandemic, pricing was really, really important.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
pricing correctly was really, really important. Um, and pricing correctly has to do with the market condition and supply and demand. Doesn't really matter what the realtor says, or a realtor here says, oh, I can perform magic, or that realtor says, I can stand on my head.
Mhm.
Market and supply and demand dictate what the price of the property is going to be ultimately.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you can't underprice a home, right?
It is impossible. It's easy to overprice a home, but it's impossible to underprice it. You're
Right.
absolutely right. Yeah. Well said. Well said.
Yeah.
Now, some sellers say, well, you know what? I'm not in a hurry, and I can sit and wait. Let's go ahead and price it high and see what happens.
Yeah.
Basically, test the market.
Yeah.
Now, the problem with that is that the buyer's psyche doesn't work that way.
Mhm.
Buyers are, especially in today's environment where everybody wants everything right now. No one wants to wait, right?
Hmm.
So if you see a house and it's a right house for you, then you want to hurry up and get that house. You don't want to be like, oh, it's a nice house, but it's overpriced, so let me just sit
Right.
and wait, because that's just gonna, the enthusiasm is going to go right out the door with that waiting period.
Yeah, I mean, and then also if you're having, if waiting this time and then doing price reductions, then your buyers are gonna be like, there might be something wrong. Uh, there's, or they might just be waiting for more drops to happen. Like, then you're gonna not get, they're not gonna look good. Price reductions are not gonna look good.
Right. And here's the thing. If there are more buyers, which this market definitely does not have a whole lot of buyers in it, but if there are more buyers, those buyers are going to go chase after a property that's priced well rather than go chase after a property that's overpriced.
Correct. Correct.
So if you're pricing correctly, your chances of getting multiple offers and then being in a better, stronger position to negotiate is going to be giving you a lot more leverage than overpricing the home and then, saying, okay, well, I'm not in a hurry. I can wait, or I'll just sell it down the line.
Yeah. When you have multiple, when you price it right, you could get, we're not saying we're getting 20, 30 offers, but you could have 3, 4 solid offers that you can work with, and then you as the seller have the leverage on the terms you want, on
Yeah.
specifics. But if you're waiting down the line and you only get one offer, then where's your leverage on that? You basically, that's the one you're depending on. So it's good to be
Yeah.
well priced. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And let's talk about why price cuts hurt,
Yeah.
right? And the other thing is, if you start high and you have to sell the house. If you don't have to sell the house, no problem. But if you do have to sell the house, then your only other option is to cut the price,
Hmm.
right? But what's kind of a signal do they send to the buyers, right? They send the signal to the buyers that there might be something wrong with the house. They send a signal that, oh, okay, they just dropped the price. There may be other price drops coming down the pike. Of course, you can always rebuke that and say, well, if somebody really wants the house, once they see the price drop, they're going to get nervous and they're going to make an offer, because if they wait for another price drop, somebody else may come in, and that is always the case. That is always a risk that you take as a buyer. That if you hesitate, somebody else will come and basically steal the house from you, and we've seen that happen, plenty of times.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is, the longer you sit, the less control you have on the price or on the sale.
Mm-hmm.
Think
Hmm.
about it, because this is really, really important
Yeah.
to basically to those sellers that think, oh, I'm not in a hurry, I can wait. The longer you sit, the less control you have over the sale.
I mean, I think that's very true. It kind of goes hand in hand to what I was mentioning earlier on. When it's sitting a lot, you're only going to have maybe one buyer that's interested, and they're going to be having all the leverage over you, basically.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Okay, now let's talk about what's the best strategies out there that you can go with to make sure that you get to a successful sale, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
Number one strategy: to really study the market, find out exactly how much the house is worth,
Mhm.
and and price slightly below that price to create a little bit of that excitement amongst the buyers, so that you're creating a situation and a circumstance where you will have multiple offers, even in a soft market where the buyers are rare. And with that, you create leverage, and you put yourself in a stronger negotiation position.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So the other part about basically pricing slightly below market value is that you create urgency. You create urgency for those buyers to say, "Oh my God, if I don't jump on this now, somebody else will jump on it, and then I will be left behind." So
Mm-hmm.
that creating that urgency really makes a difference as well.
It does. I mean, and we've seen it. We've seen it with properties that we list that are priced right. We see the urgency in the buyers of, trying to take care of things.
Now, the other part, which we really love and we take pride in, is to heavily market the property, right?
Hmm.
Do a lot of preparation on the property. Do stage the property, virtually stage the property. Make sure that you take professional pictures. Make sure you do lots of videos. Make sure you do a lot of social media activity around it, because those all basically help to boost the property, put it, create a lot of energy that surrounds the property to make sure that energy boosts a lot of people coming through, and as a result, create traction and create engagement and create offers.
Definitely. Definitely. Hit the nail right in the head.
Okay, so now so essentially what you're trying to do is not just have one buyer, but have multiple buyers that come across your
Correct.
way.
Correct.
Let's talk about open houses.
Okay.
Um, Over the years, I've seen open houses go like this,
Yeah.
right? Any opinions that you may have in the years that you have seen this, you have been in the market, about open houses?
And bringing buyers to a
Hmm.
property.
Yeah.
I mean, I think open houses are great. I think it opens the doors to have you know, those people that are just strolling by on the weekend that are, might not be as interested as buyers that are looking specifically at the home, but
Hmm.
it prompts interest and urgency for those that are interested. I feel, we have open houses, we're getting traffic, even
Hmm.
if the person is not the person, the people, all the people that are going into the property are looking to buy it. They kind of work as influences. Like, we're getting people showing up, people are liking it, and it might bring up that sense of urgency to the actual buyer to submit an offer.
And the interesting thing about open houses is, during COVID we had zero open houses, right?
Mhm.
But before COVID we had lots of open houses. After COVID, now we have a lot of open houses. The reason why I'm a big fan of open houses is, um, open houses make it easier for people to get through and see the property, and they also make it easier on the sellers, because rather than you having to pick up and clean up and prepare the property for the buyers. If you say, hey, these are the designated times for open houses, then buyers can come through those times, and sellers also have it a little bit easier on themselves, because they know, okay, I have to prepare my house for this,
Time slot.
this amount of hours during the week,
Yeah.
and the rest of the time, hopefully, I can relax and enjoy my life and not be disrupted every other hour by a buyer that wants to take a look at the house, and I have to make sure that the property shows well.
Yeah. You don't want to be a seller that doesn't let a good potential buyer not look at the place. That's kind of what we're getting at. So
Totally, you are so correct, because
they can scare them
here's
away.
you can scare them away, and the more accessible a property is, the more money you're going to fetch for the house. And of
Hmm.
course, who wants to leave money on the table when they're trying to sell? Everybody wants to get as much money for their property as they can.
Yeah.
So, and open houses help with that. So why not?
Hmm. Yeah.
The other point about open houses that makes me a big fan of open houses is every time you're doing an open house, you can do a whole lot of marketing campaign right around, basically following the open house. So you can use the open house as the major event that you can advertise around, and you can create traction around, you can create energy around, and that by itself helps to sell the house.
Exactly. Yeah.
So now let's talk about the fact that we sell in San Diego, right? We sell in San Diego, but we have our partners anywhere in the U.S. So if, of course, if anyone is thinking of selling in San Diego, we love to be their go-to people, go-to realtors. But if they're thinking of selling anywhere else in the U.S., we love to be their a resource as well, and then in turn connect them with our realtor partners that we have all around the country.
Definitely. Definitely.
All right. So on that note, let's share our information then. What do you think?
Go ahead.
Okay, so audience, if you're thinking of buying or selling, we would love to hear from you. There's my phone number. And you can also reach out to my partner. There is Santiago's phone number. And you can check us out on our website. There is our website for you to visit. And if you are watching us on Instagram or on Facebook, we would appreciate it if you guys give us a follow. And of course, if you're watching this on YouTube, what do you want them to do, Santi?
Thumbs up and subscribe.
That's right. Subscribe so as we are posting these videos, you are able to um, uh, be notified of
Mhm.
next time that we're posting our videos.
Yeah, definitely. Be on the lookout for the next video. So I'll see you guys on the next one.
See you guys on the next one. Thank you so much for joining us.